Stop audio. Make sure mics start recording. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 47 of Zed Daily. Today I have Linus Caldwell from Zerga Farms with us. How you doing, sir?
I'm fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm great, man. I'm great. So Linus, before we get into Zed Run and digital horse racing, I know you've got a lot of stuff going on in NFTs right now. I see you got like a Bored Ape. I see you got like these Fanta bears and all that stuff. So I want to go back before NFTs and digital horse racing. When did you first start buying Ethereum?
So I come from professional poker background, and in poker, we get into things early, and in like literally early 2013, 2014, we were trading Bitcoin and using Bitcoin as like deposit methods for different websites. My poker backer at the time uh, was doing Bitcoin transfers for me for deposits, and that's how I got in. And then Ethereum in itself is very interesting. Again, one of these poker friends of mine, he told me about Ethereum like at the ICO. He got in the ICO and he told me about it. And he's like, I want you to go to listen to this podcast with the founder, Vitalik Buterin. And so I went and listened to this podcast, and Vitalik was describing the potential for Ethereum versus Bitcoin. And I was familiar with Bitcoin. So he talked about how you can build platforms on top of ETH as opposed to just Bitcoin, which is like a store of money essentially, and couldn't be scaled out. And he described it with one thing that stuck with me forever, which was YouTube. You could put your YouTube channel, your YouTube, on Ethereum, and rather than have advertisement dollars or like as the pay-per-view, you could do pay-per-view, where someone could do micropayments for the YouTube video. And this was literally me seeing NFTs way before they came out, and that's when I fell in love with ETH. I didn't really dabble, like I bought in and out and dabbled because I had a backer that did Ethereum arbitrage trades. I don't know where he is this day, but he's probably just got all the money in the entire world. But I got in ETH pretty early, and I guess a lot of poker players did, so lucky in that sense.
Okay, so
And
sorry, continue.
no, go. I was just gonna say like how NFTs blossom were like in that run in 2017. I saw crypto kitties and played around with these things called ether tanks that have just disappeared off the face of the internet. And I've always just like kind of grasped onto those little nuances of the dark corner of the web.
Nice, man. That's super early. So like around what price did you first start buying ETH at?
Well, I may have dabbled early, but I really didn't get position in ETH until it was something like 151, or until it was like probably 2000, like early 2016 or late 2015, somewhere around there. And it might have been 81. Even at this point, I don't fully remember, but I didn't get positions until that point. But that's still, I think, relatively early.
Right. So when this first wave of NFTs came out with like the crypto kitties, were you investing in that type of stuff?
I wasn't investing. I was just playing. Right. I was a kid in the sandbox. I I was in Costa Rica, and a friend of mine was like trading crypto kitties and breeding them, and I'm like, this is awesome. And the next thing he found was these things called ether tanks, and I bought these tanks, and I battled them, and then I sold one and made point 0.3 ETH, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I bought a few, and then it full rug pulled, right,
Mm.
and then the entire market crashed after that. And everyone goes after these early NFTs, the historic ones that have a ton of intrinsic like value to being an early part of Web 3.0, but ether tanks are gone. They're literally disappeared. And I know that I have one in a wallet somewhere that or I guess it got wiped, but yeah, I was interested in this stuff early, but I didn't really pop in until January of last year, um, back into the space.
So what was your first move in January of last year, you said?
Yeah. So I uh, well, there's a whole internet thread I made about how I got very sick in and was spending a lot of time recovering in my health. So I was close to buying sandbox lands in August of the previous year. And then I found out while that was happening, I found out about my health. And then come the year after, come January last year, while I was recovering, I started looking into the sandbox lands again. And then I made my first purchase, which was an estate on the main island right next to Atari. And that was the first. And then a bunch of my friends were getting in Top Shots. Obviously, Top Shots is a huge gateway for everyone in Zed, for a lot of the people in Zed. So while they were getting in Top Shots, I started looking at Nifty Gateway art and some of the art. And me and my friends started buying up. We pulled together a bunch of ETH, and we started a collective of buying up a bunch of art from unique ones of ones, from Nifty Gateway drops. And that led me into something that I just have a super passion for and something that I'm really good at. After that, I was hunting down with one friend of mine. We were hunting down like other things that were interesting. Zed popped up right in March, and he bought the first horse, or the first two horses. And I saw them race, and I'm like, this is absolutely the sickest thing I've ever seen. This is incredible. And we fully aped into Zed after that.
So was it around like drop times to where they're still dropping only Genesis horses?
Yeah, it was the March 19th drop. It was the March. I was buying horses before that, so I was buying horses early on, as many people have the same story who were buying early. I was looking at super rare coats. I was looking for low odds. I was looking through the old Discord where they would post the odds, and I was looking for horses that had like some low odd in their griffin, and then buying up horses that had low odds. I think in realization I was overpaying, but I also found some gems, horses that haven't left me to this day. Keen Desire, and we were able to find horses that way. I was also buying a lot of coats back then, like thinking, I'm always trying to extrapolate to the future and thinking about like how will people be thinking about this 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. And so when it comes to Zed, my take has always been to position myself in different ways that Zed can end up. Like, I think Zed is an incredible game and has a lot of different avenues and strategies. And I'm someone who, because I got in this early enough with a large enough position, I can position myself to all of those. So for me, it's like three basic ones. It's racing, breeding, and like treating it like an NFT. So with my stable, you'll see that I pretty much have all three as an option for me. Like, I have a very large stable. I have Z1s, Z2s, and a lot of them are just sitting in the barn. And it's because like I intrinsically think like through as this game becomes much bigger, it's clear we can see that how valuable Z1s are. And so what you're going to have is you're going to have like the rush to racing because of how valuable they are, which is going to create a supply crunch on the Z1s in the future, which should increase their value. But they're also like a dynamic NFT. So when you look at the NFT market at large, you're able to like look at like CryptoPunks or apes. Those things are like flat, linear 2D things that their store of value comes from like IP commercial rights or historic. But a Zed horse you can change, and you can change its value based on how it races or how it breeds or how like the optics are for that particular horse. So I think as more people race the Z1s, you get higher prize pools. There will be a supply crunch on the Z1s. And I'm sure this is something that a lot of people realize. And so I think that the value go up. But also, even if Zed died tomorrow, I think it's just an iconic part of the NFT history from this era. And I think that those Z1s will retain value like at some point. So for me, those will always hold some particular value to like Web 3.0 and what it's becoming. So I keep that as a strategy. And then I have horses that I use for breeding that I run breed tests on. Breeding is my favorite part of the game. Like, I love breeding. I'm addicted to breeding and then running griffins and then training the horse and then like not even racing that much after that. Like, that's my favorite part of the game. And so I have strategies behind like why I'm doing breeding for very particular reasons. And then of course there's racing, and racing is likely the most fun part of the game. It's the most analytical part of the game. It's like where you can dynamically change the value. It's like got the best public interaction. Like I get to have conversations with people about horses. It's like the front facing part of the game. And and I come from a gaming background. I come from poker. So I'm extremely competitive. I hide it as best as I can. Like I always need to win, but at the same time, that's why I have to race, because not only is it like a profit earner on the particular horses that you own if you do it the right way, but also it's the best part of the game. I mean, like breeding for me is the best part of the game, but racing is where I can be competitive and where my background, I guess where my background really shows, like coming from poker background where I studied for years and whatnot. So it translates very well.
Is it just breeding a killer in general, or breeding a killer that you bred in house, like with your own 2 horses, or breeding a killer and selling it? Like what's the most like beneficial part of breeding a killer?
Yeah. It's not even breeding killers. Like I like breeding. If you'll notice my stable, I breed a lot of, I think compared to the other stables who are working at my magnitude, I breed a lot of horses that are like Z10 beyond. And it's because I like to build out horses. I'm looking to like the future of Zed, and I feel like Z10s through Z25s are going to end up becoming more of a norm. We don't see anything beyond Z25 plus can't compete right now. The classing system doesn't fit horses like that, but I think it will one day. And I want to have a wide range of horses that are in that set that can compete at that level when it does roll out. I want to have a ton of horses that can compete at that level, which I have a lot of them now. I want to have a bunch of horses that I can lend out and loan on the P2E lending model when that comes out. And I want to be able to race them, and I want to be able to like have other people race them for me. And I also want to run testing on those horses for breeding. And I don't know many people that have like a stable of my size that are on breed testing on like Z12s together and trying to get information from that. Like, I feel like I'm always trying to look at the game and see how can I be ahead of where people are at, like what people are doing. And like, for me, this is one of the steps is working on this rather than working on like the Z1, Z2s, which I could do. But I feel like Zed's changing parts of their game, and what the game's going to look like for Z1s and Z2s in 6 months from now and a year and a half from now is going to be quite different from where it is right now. So like I'm less competitive in those areas, specifically because I think the game's going to change dramatically. And why am I going to buy up a ton of expensive horses where that I don't think the game is super profitable for racing? I don't think it's that profitable for racing, to be honest with you. And why am I going to buy up a ton of horses to increase my optics when the game's going to change, when I can just do that? I guess when I can do that later, when I have the stable to do that later, when I can just run testing now on breeds at relatively cheap prices for like decent or like almost the same ROI and play the game a little bit differently. So it's not about breeding killers. It's about like building out the ecosystem and staying and just understanding all parts of the game ahead of time.
Okay, sweet.
And breeding a killer is the best thing in the world. Like I bred Julie the cat, who's like one of the few horses that can compete in C1 that's a bred horse. So yeah, that's like the greatest day ever. It's unmatchable. And right now I'm running her backwards from C1. I've been downclassing her I never downclassed her before. I always let her run in C1, but I've been downclassing her for like 2 or 3 weeks, just running the 1Ks, and she's like 2 days away from C2, and it's going to be one of the most exciting feelings, I feel like.
How do you feel about downclassing, just in general, downclassing in Zed Run? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's a popular topic, right? I think I think it's polarizing for different people. I'm not really either which direction. I think that the game is going to kind of get built differently, and I don't know what the game fully looks like 6 months or a year from now or a year and a half. I don't know what those later classes look like. I don't know what buy-ins and prize pools look like. I think downclassing right now in the current game is kind of essential for some of these horses because of the way that the classing system's built up. But it does create issues like good, like some of these incredible horses that are what like Z7, like I guess Festus is like a Z7, or you just have some of these really good horses that probably should be C2-3 monsters, but would be stuck in Z1 if there was a C1 where their just natural ability isn't to compete. And I don't necessarily think that that's right. I don't know how to judge what's right, but I don't necessarily think that's right. So I'm cool with downclassing now. I think as the classing system gets built out, as race population gets better, then my belief in that will shift a little bit. Yeah.
What do you think the future, you were kind of touching on like the future state of Zed or the future state of racing. What do you think that looks like? Do you take away class systems? Is it ELO based to where it's just the best are racing against the best? Like, what does this future system look like to you?
Well, I'm the biggest fan of the lending PDE model for onboarding people and getting a ton of people to race. I think that would bring in people from all over the world. It would allow people to like do play to earn and make money doing the game, which I think that it should always be. I've been a big proponent of not having free races. We can talk about that. But what do I think that the game will look like or should look like is I think that I think race population is priority number one. Like we need good race population. I don't know if it's an issue with Matic. I do think that that's something that will come in the future. It does feel like it's priority number one, and I have to assume that they have really good reasons for why it's not fully operational. And then I think like the game needs private races. I think that that's the solution for free races is private races and private tournaments, seasons, right? Being able to have that. But I also think massive $1 million tournaments is the real, like, I think right now what's popular you're seeing on Twitter is people talking about how Zed got rid of the grand finals, right? The grand finals is just exciting. And I think it's that excitement that really draws, it onboards new users, it draws in the population. And I think that's like one of the reasons you saw gaming explode is because there's Twitch streaming. It's because there's like huge events, right? With $2 million prize pools for Halo finals on TV. And I think that Zed wants to drive that direction. And you do that with a grand finals that's a spectacle. And so I think that that's very important. I can understand we're not there yet. As I said a few times, like I don't think the ecosystem is built out. So they kind of like have to do testing, BA testing and figure out what works and what doesn't. And I'm completely on board with them doing that. I think that that's part of the growth factor and so I'm not expecting all this in 6 months or like tomorrow, like but I am expecting it in a year from now. I'm expecting like people loaning out their horses and PDE model. I am expecting private races. I am expecting sandbox racetracks where the grand final goes on and everyone comes in their digital avatar and walks around and you can like put your horses through the tunnel first so everyone gets to look and see like, ooh, there's Ducky Malin, right? There's Barack, there's Julie the cat, look at him. I for sure see that, and then I see Atari throwing a parade like a digital Kentucky Derby, and then it's Twitch streamed to like thousands, like tens or hundreds of thousands of people around the world outside of Web 3.0. That's where I think Zed is going, and I think that they have that same vision. That's my vision. I feel like Zed has completely that vision. So it's multifold for me, and I just think that I do think Zed is working on all of that, which is why I'm so pumped. I think some people within the game, they have like a very specific outcome that they are looking for. It might be PDE. It might be just being able to race every day. It might be private free races so they can have fun with their friends. And it might be $1 million tournaments if you're in class one. Like, I think that Zed is working on all of them, and I want them personally to work on all of them.
100%. So let's go into the free races. What do you not like about the free races in the current state, at least?
Yeah. So I think the free races they incentivize you not, or they disincentivize you from running paid races. And I think disincentivizing paid races means that the races get a lot tougher. And when the races get a lot tougher, I think that you actually get people who just leave the ecosystem because it's not profitable anymore. I think you want to like maximize. Zed got rid of Rake, which is incredible. It made a lot more horses profitable. But what you have when you have free races is all the horses that would have ran 250s or the cheap buy-ins, they move to free races. So then all the horses that would run 10s and 5s are now running down to like 250s, making the 250s a lot tougher. And then what happens when you have that is horses become less profitable. And when you have horses that are less profitable, you have a weaker market, or you have a market that doesn't interact. You have people who stop racing. And when you stop racing, you no longer bolster growth within the game. You stop. Like I'm not racing right now. I'm just not racing, barely at all. It's not great. It's not great. And I have tons of horses, and I could race any horse at any of these classes, but I just am just not taking part. So I think that also free races should come in the form of scheduled, of like, for the tournaments. Somehow they need to like splice between the tournaments and like make tournaments. Free races are fine as long as you don't go back. And I think this is something I put on Twitter, and then or someone commented on Twitter, and it was just like loved by everybody. Hey, let's splice tournament races so you go forward in the tournament races, but it doesn't change your classing, like how you class. But again, at the end of the day, while I'm like anti-free race quite vehemently, and I have more reasons than that, but I do think that like I don't actually truly know. I'm just pretty good at extrapolating and looking through systems, and they could splice tournaments off, and then it might not work, right? As long as I feel like they're trialing and testing things, I think we're okay. But what I do see every time we do these free races is races become tougher. I just think it's just happening now, and it's going to keep happening. So I do think that that's like something that should just be removed, except for tournaments in some way.
So you're saying like if there's a tournament and I'm in class 3 and I race free races, I'm not going to class up to class 1 by racing those frees?
I'm saying like tournament races gets like separated. So imagine Matic. So right now, how can I explain this? So you're free. You can run free races and paid races at the same time. Okay. The free races are just for the tournament. So the tournament, you can move up or you can move down. And at the same time, while you run those races, you can run the paid races. And that has like the separate point system. The point system, the base point system that you're running right now is in the paid races, and you'll move up and down. And then the tournaments get run like side chained, almost like a different layer. And you would move up and down based on class points for that tournament, but that's just for your positioning. I think by doing it that way, you'd also end up having like the same subsets of horse racing each other the way that they have to now. Like the class 3 horses won't end up stuck in class 1 for next tournament. They'll be back racing versus the class 3 horses for the tournament afterwards.
Right. And then especially
have you heard that concept before?
No, but it makes sense, because if somebody only has a tournament racer instead of a paid racer, they can just run their tournaments and not get their horse like stuck up in whatever class, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it would kind of stimulate things too. Like you can have like a tournament. You would be able to have you would have more horses racing in paid races, and at the same time, you'd have more people buying like tournament horses just specifically for tournaments. And then they would get to go back to that spot later, and they could continue racing those tournament horses.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we were talking about this a little bit before stream, but you told me you had a horse that bred diamonds. Do you want to tell me the story about that horse?
Yeah, so diamonds is one of a kind, huh? Diamonds is a one of a kind horse in the game of Zed. One of the most fascinating horses that there is. And I was at the time looking for buying breeding horses from the wire. It was a strategy I was working on. I was looking for horses that had bred multiple good horses. And I had found a few in like Z5, Z7, like Buterins. And I was looking for Z1, and I was looking for like a knock. And I was scrolling through, looking at the bred horse history, and I saw Always Rat listed at the time the floor on fillies was 20th, and I saw Always Rat listed at 25. And I looked and I saw it was Diamonds, and I'm battling Diamonds at the time. So I know who Diamonds is, and I saw this was Diamonds' mother. And then I saw that also bred another horse called Paragon Pursue that looked really good. And then a third horse that had strong BA, even though it wasn't incredible. And I was like, I got to buy this horse. Like, I just need that Z1 mare. And this was before the blood tool was out. This was before like any of that information. So I was like, I didn't want someone to snipe it either. So I was scrambling to pull the ETH down to get it loaded in the account. And I bought diamonds. I bought Always Wrap, and Always Wrap just, I just, obviously I love that horse. And then when we were at did you see the Z1 racing event that was in NFT NYC? So I was in that event, and Steve, who was the owner of Always Wrap initially, I think he actually reached out to try and buy her back afterwards. I might have ghosted him a little bit, or it might have not been. I just didn't want like, I didn't want to give her back. I didn't want to sell her back. Like he's a great dude, great person. And we had a good laugh and joke about it, about how it happened. And when we were selecting Z1s for the race, I was working between Always Wrap or Basilica, whose offspring had strong base ability, and I wanted to race like one of the horses that bred. Again, as I told you, I have reasons for not wanting to race some of the unbreds, at least for now. And so I felt like I had already bred Basilica. He had good offspring. It looked like there was potential for some of the things that I'd seen from the ecosystem for him to be a good runner. So I chose him over Always Wrap, whose offspring I have a lot of variance, right? So far. But I think data is showing that variance and BA is a little bit random, or is mostly random. So, but I went Basilica for that reason. Always Wrap, I think one day will be raced at some point. That horse will be raced. Yeah.
I'm excited, man. So is your plan with breeding that horse, like, that it can breed killers? Are you not selling offspring and just trying to keep all the offspring in-house with that horse?
I'm mostly always breeding in-house. So I brought on a stable hand, Fast Eddie. He's been absolutely incredible. And I've just started, as you talked about earlier, like I do more than just Zed. I've been in NFTs, and Eddie has helped me get my tentacles into more breeding places. I just got the blood tool, big fan, and shout out to Dan Chan, a big fan. And I am looking to make killers in-house. Yeah, I'm mostly in like a testing phase. I also don't think that the market puts premiums on certain horses. At least they weren't. They've started to now. I know like the other top stables are breeding with premiums, are working on deals together for breeding, and so like the premiums are there. But historically that hasn't happened, and it's definitely not happening in the lower levels. People aren't buying like good breeding offspring at premiums. And so since I could never sell something at a premium that I felt like deserved a premium, there's no good optics. There's no marketplace for Zed. There's no place to look at these things. And the pool of players hasn't necessarily figured them out yet. And when I pitch them to people, it's like, I don't want to work my butt off for a pitch to get like an extra 30% on a horse that's like 0.05, but that should happen to me. So rather than do that, I just keep them all for myself rather than lose the premium, because I feel like the premium is just better off with me anyway, since I'm the one breeding it. So that's the plan for now. But yes, I have in the past looked at selling an Always Wrap offspring, and there were potential premiums, but I felt like it wasn't there yet. I do feel like we're there now though. So in the future, I will sell some Always Wrap offspring. The biggest reason being, you already own diamonds. If it was all in-house, I'd probably just potentially not let somebody have the bloodline, but unless I can snag diamonds from you one day, I think we'll just play the field.
All right, cool. So touching out of Zed Run a little bit, I wanted to know. I remember seeing a Twitter post saying that you minted Bored Apes. I wanted to know why you minted those and how you had the conviction to hold those this long, because that's pretty crazy, man. And to have the conviction to hold it all the way through, or hold some all the way through, is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'm a type of person that can really look at how something's going to operate much farther in the future. And so while I had been buying up some other stuff, the story behind minting Bored Apes is crazy. I had just gone very deep in a poker tournament. I was out. I had just like solved my health issues. I was out celebrating with friends, and we came home. I went back to a friend's house. Everyone's like partying, and I'm on the couch on my laptop, and I see Bored Apes being minted, and there were some people that I felt were very interesting, intelligent people that like weren't shills or anything that were talking about them. So I went and I minted like 5, and I saw them, and I'm like, oh my god, these are dope. So I spent the next like 24 hours buying them, trading them, selling some, buying more, buying cool ones. And for that reason at first. And then once I dove deeper and I started looking into the type of people that owned them, I started making a conviction play. And then a few days later, I learned even deeper about the IP and the commercial rights. And so I started doing a deep dive into like what that exactly looked like. And for like that reason, for being the first ever NFT to give you that kind of ability, and then also the types of people that I saw buying them, they were like the new wealthy, the people that got in NFTs a bit early, that came from Top Shot, that were well-known artists, like blue check mark artists, photographers, successful Top Shot people, Dingaling. They weren't like flippers. They were people who were looking for a digital identity. And I paid attention to the conversation over the first few weeks, and I was like, okay, this is something that's going to evolve. And then I started realizing like how important digital identity can become. So like I think digital identity will be this for me was something that would compete with punks, essentially, which I was a huge fan of. So for me, I looked at digital identity and I analyzed it, and I saw and I analyzed it in this way, and I looked at like if everyone needs a digital identity, and there's 7 billion people on Earth, right, and 3 billion of them are using social media, everyone has multiple digital identities. So I looked at the target market as 3 billion times 10. And then I looked at, well, Twitter's is 350 million active users. So it's 350 million times what's called 5. And I saw like, oh, that's the potential demographic, like market here. And so while punks are historic in their own sense, are going to be the first, I was looking for like what has the potential for the next one. And for me, the people who bought Bored Apes were the people who were disseminators at the current time. They were disseminators of information on social media. So I saw them as the people who were going to use this digital identity, who were going to share it, who were going to talk about it, create the conversation around it, and that it would evolve from there. And so like I kept playing into that. Very quickly though, like within a month, I had this idea. We shared this concept together. For me, I thought Bored Apes were going to be making this merch play. And I don't know if anyone else saw that early, like that they were looking at commercializing their merch from their first drop. Like it was like, this is their play. And why is merch important? Well, the merch is valuable if the people who own the merch are people who already are disseminators within the culture, then they market for you. So now you can look at like all the people who own Bored Apes. They have hundreds of thousands of followers, or they're well known in art or music. Those people wear a Bored Apes sweater. That's marketing. They're the ones who are going to be promoting this, and they have hundreds of thousands of followers. All of them aggregated is the internet. And so if Bored Apes played it right, they were just going to be able to like get all that aggregation. It markets itself, and those people would be able to market for it, and they'd be able to sell their merch no problem. And like I have this hope for Ape token that like Bored Apes give you equity stake in sales of digital merch. And if they do that, then like it's game over for this. It's just like the most exponential increase I can ever imagine. Like everyone, if they gave 2% ownerships of digital sales for the merch to like Justin Bieber doesn't own one. There's a rumor that he just bought one. So that like, I don't know, Jimmy Fallon or anyone who, if you give 2% ownership of that, they're incentivized to promote it. So they're all going to promote the merch and the brand, which will make it really truly explode. I don't know if that's what's going to happen. That's like my dream scenario. So I just try to look at those things. And for seeing all that, you can also look and see that they trademarked a lot of their concepts from that. They trademarked like the their gold grills from the like they might sell gold grilled one day. They have the grill from the actual ape, the gold and the diamond. They have those trademarked. Like they have a they might sell that one day as a merch piece, a Bored Ape gold grill or Bored Ape diamond grill, because if you look, they've trademarked that. So that's like a play for me, is like seeing that they did all those things really early on and saying like, oh, that's their vision. That's a vision I can really get with, especially when you give IP commercial rights and everyone's incentivized to like create a brand around their ape and promote whatever that is. So that's why I bought in and won't probably sell unless something very interesting changes. Like culture is definitely goes through phases, wanes and waxes. So, but I think we're just getting started.
Man, I love that. The conviction and like how well thought out that is, like totally removes the emotion of whatever the floor price is. Like if you think about it like that and you can just see the future and not really worry about the floor price, like in the early days, like you can still have a bunch of apes at the price it is right now. Like that's pretty crazy. I wanted to ask you, did you see the value you would get from the airdrops in the beginning? Like, did you think you would get that much from a dog or a serum or all these other airdrops along the way?
I really did. I play that roadmap. That roadmap to me, NFTs run on information. They move on information, and for me, the thing that moves them, the things that move the most is like a team that actually sticks to the information that comes out that they said was going to come out. And so when they said you were going to airdrop a companion, and apes start to move ahead of time, like I learned very quickly, oh, the things that they're going to be giving to you are going to be highly prized and valuable, just like the other assets within the ecosystem. And so you can like figure out where on their roadmap, like you can just like mentally figure out where their roadmap needs to be soon. And then you can just like you can like buy in a little bit early with expectations of what you're going to get from that. And like I've traded that market, the ape market, doing that. I've traded the dog market, the ape market. I've predicted what is going to like happen in certain timelines, when they're going to have like ape bear markets, when there's going to be like ape legs up. Like you can look in, like for example, this month, this doesn't have to do with airdrops, but like this month, for example, there was a big leg up like 2 weeks ago or whatever. And a friend of mine asked me and he said like, oh, I feel like we're going to get a huge drop down. And I'm like, I personally don't think that apes are going to drop. I think they're going to keep going up, which is a rare thing after a leg up. And the reason being is you can look in the wallets of the new and see that it's a bunch of new buyers coming in. And I feel like a bunch of people had money sidelined from tax season, and new buyers coming into the ecosystem, continuously is plenty of reason to think that we don't actually have a pullback. And I think that ETH is its own, you got to figure out ETH within all this whole equation. And if ETH is having like a nice stagnant month and a half here, or 2 months before it makes some decisions, then that's even more reason for people to come in at lower USD prices, who are from like, more people are getting onboarded to NFTs every single day. So if you think more people are getting onboarded and are willing to spend more money, like the USD price for relative to apes is great. So people are buying in at cheaper USD prices. So why not? You're just going to keep seeing more buys. So I felt like that was going to happen. And so far it's been true. We've had new buyers. New buyers means new money into big wallets because ape prices are high. New money flows down into other projects that are related to Bored Ape Yacht, like Doodles and Gutters, and then it flows from there down to other projects, and you can just see how money flows. It's very trackable within the NFT ecosystem. Like everything is very, if you think about it, you can like understand how money will flow.
Okay.
Same thing with Zed. Like you can figure out how money flows within Zed, right? You can know like some announcement by the team or expectation for the roadmap. Like for example, if we expected a lending model to come out in 2, people are going to want to buy up horses that they can lend out to other people. So like probably late Q1 or early Q2, you might start seeing people buying up some of these like cheaper racing horses, that could be lent out to people. So you're gonna see that. So I'm gonna myself work to buy those before other people, right? So that's my plan, is to get some of those cheaper racing horses that I can lend to other people before other people figure that out. For example.
Okay. And then you said there's always new markets of people coming in to NFTs, and like new countries or new places coming into NFTs. So one example of that was, like, I don't know how you say it, but these Fanta bears or Panta bears. I saw these things at like 0.45, and I saw Eric Wong tweet about them, but I never understood, or I never took like the perspective of like, this is a new Asian market getting into NFTs. Like, never considered it. So I totally passed on them at 0.45, and then I see these shits go to like 10, and then I see you have one as your profile picture. So like, what was your thought process on buying into that project?
Well, there's a really famous name behind it for Jay Cho, and I think that the Asian market is largely untapped for NFTs. The Chinese market, the Asian market, I feel like they're heavily into crypto, Koreans and Chinese, and yet they haven't truly bought into NFTs yet. And so anything that comes out and just gets mass promoted by someone super famous in that culture is going to create the boom, like finally create the boom. But I don't necessarily think that their money gets moved into the rest of the ecosystem. So like, I don't think that they're going to buy Fanta bears and then all of a sudden buy Bored Apes. Actually, the phrase was ape in the west, bear in the east, right? So I think that like they're going to disseminate their own culture within the NFT ecosystem, and you want to think like, well, what's going to stimulate that? I don't truly know, because I'm not Asian culture. I do love culture. I've gone to Asia. I've lived in other countries for many years. I'm always trying to think about like how other cultures are going to think about something. I try not to be ethnocentric in any form. So how are they going to look at that? How are they going to look at this? I don't truly know, because I don't know Asian culture like really that well. I know it, but I don't know it that well. So like, I just see someone famous that's promoting this, that I'm told is like one of the most famous people in China, and he's well known across many domains, and he's been successful in everything he does. And I'm like, yeah, this seems like a good buy. And then let's get into like all the other things. And then I reach out. I know there's like some Bored Ape owners that are from Hong Kong, and they know the ecosystem well. So I DM them and ask like what they thought about these things. And I just got the like, super famous guy, these are going to blow up, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, I'll get in that. My father does a ton of all his business in China is in China. I was in Asia actually when COVID hit, and I was supposed to be going to China when the whole thing was going on with China, with the Wuhan, and so my dad's over there a lot. So I told him, I was like, send this to tell them your son owns this, and send this to your factory and see what they say. But regarding NFTs, I think that you can think about them like that. I think that Asia is a very untapped market. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I don't know if it'll look like them buying up any of the things that we're buying. I think it probably will be brand new NFTs that pop up. And they'll probably be great buys because they have so much sideline money. So they have a ton of sideline money. I just don't know where it'll go. And we don't know what China will do. They might ban NFTs tomorrow, right? So we'll see. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think like my play is always Zed Run, but like now especially is to try and catch like an Asian market project or something that's going to be big out there early and just get invested into it. Because if you got a new community or just a group of people getting into the space, like you could hop on that wave, right?
There are a lot of really unique communities that are going to come in here and are going to have substantial impact on whatever niche or whatever genre or whatever they come from. That's going to be different, and it's going to impact that entire community ecosystem. It could be cultures, it could be ideas, it could be content. But I think that you're going to see like a massive wave this is art, this is culture, this stuff translates really well. Crypto is money and difficult, and I feel like crypto is difficult to comprehend. Whereas once you get past MetaMask, you can figure out, like, you can understand NFTs as long as you play around and interact with it. And like Zed, the gaming, this is the year of gaming for me. So I think Zed and a lot of the other similar games are just going to be massive, especially if you have a working product.
What other games are you bullish on? I see you're in BioPills. I'm not sure if you're in the Red Village, but what other P2E games are you bullish on in 2022?
BioPills is my. So I put in. So the things that I put biggest position in early were Sandbox Lands, Apes, Zed, and BioPills. So like I got in BioPills the day of the drop, and I did the same thing that I explained to you with Zed and Apes. Was I looked at as an investment thesis, like what are the things that are going to make this thing? Well, I look for first, like, what's unique. Is this thing unique? So with Apes, it was the IP commercial rights. With BioPills, it's consumables. It's historic. It's the first metaverse consumable. Let me ask you this: has there been a single competitor to come out since they released? Everything else has a competitor, but BioPills have no competitor. There's no one else. So that's a reason to be bullish in itself. The team is the absolute greatest team in the entire system. I love betting on teams like Zed, Apes, and BioPills. And then they build up their bioverse. They actually have, like, they show you their working alpha, the game being built, and then they create intricate tokenomics and game theory. Like, I love game theory. It makes my brain whiz and whir, and I'm active 24 hours a day thinking about things. And their tokenomics make you it makes you incentivized not to sell. And being incentivized not to sell while also having an incredible product and being historic and being unique is just like easily a no-brainer. So I think like the first 6 months while you're staking Trip, while they develop the game, it's one of the best investments that I can see in the entire space. And I'm bullish on their team and their game from looking at it. It has Halo vibes. I swear their team is from Halo or something. So I just think that that's a great project. Yes, I'm in the Red Village. The Red Village 2 looks also incredible in itself. Any of these like play to earn games, the most important part for a play to earn game for me is the tokenomics, because a game is creating its own economy. It has its own economies within it. So like if I played like a Call of Duty, and Call of Duty has its own like token in the game, the token, let's say it's used to like build guns and sell guns. You need to have a token that constantly needs to be utilized. You can have an incredible game, an incredible product, incredible utility, incredible team, look great, but if the economics of the token are not aligned, then you can create like inflation. Like there's the US dollar, and then there's like countries in I guess like Africa that have massive inflation because their economies of their token aren't done right. And that's like the difference you're going to see in some of these PD games. I think a lot of them are going to come out with great products, and most of them are going to have terrible tokenomics. And so what I'm looking for is like, how's the game theory of the tokenomics going to come into play so that this economy is very useful. So I'm very cautious with keeping huge positions on any of these unless I really see or am able to understand great tokenomics. I think it's going to take a while for these games to come out and a while for them to be have network effect and adopted. It's at the end of the day, it's like, is the token going to be highly valuable? And that's like the real question. That's like the real question for me, and something you can see now by trying to like think through how they create their tokenomics, but also the games are going to take a little bit to come out. There will be some really simple games that come out this year that are going to be great to invest in that have simple tokenomics. Those are going to be probably great buys, in my opinion. I don't know which ones those will be, but they'll be there. Everyone will probably be trying to adopt these games and play them. Like I'll be playing them myself, right? With all my horses racing as the primary thing.
Do you have any fears with Zed's plans for their tokenomics, and what would you like to see them do with their token?
Yeah, Zed's token looks quite interesting. I think that they've created something complex, and and they've really, to me, it really looks like they've looked through all the factors. Like they've looked at what it looks like to burn a horse and how that's going to interact with the tokenomics. You could see in the email, in the message they put out, they talk about how this isn't something simple, how they brought on a team to work through their tokens. That's what I want to see. I want to see someone who's thought through the tokenomics and understands the impact that it's going to have. You can't just like throw it out there. You'll fail. You'll create inflation or deflation or whatever. And so to me, it looks like they've done a great job. They've thought through how it's going to impact breeding. They've thought through how it's going to impact tournaments, how it's going to impact the USD price and the economics. But at the end of the day, it's complex. And because it's so complex in such a like dynamic, complex ecosystem, that we are not going to know until like it gets fully operational. I'm a big fan though. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Yeah. I'm a fan.
I didn't see anything in there that I was like, I wish they had this, right? I'm very critical of things, but with like for very positive reasons. Like I believe in things and I want them all to succeed. And like I looked at their tokenomics and I'm just like very huge fan. I'm a huge fan of what they do. It's built out for the lending model. It includes racing, it includes breeding, it includes cutting horses out of the ecosystem and burning. Burning will have good deflationary economics to it, et cetera.
Cool. All right. I got a last few questions for you. Where did you get the name Zerga Farms from?
Okay. So have you seen, I asked you this earlier, but Ocean's 11, right?
Right.
You seen Ocean's 11?
Yep.
So in the Ocean's 11 movie, they're doing a big heist, and the name of the dude from the name of the guy who I'm having a brain fart. Lyman Zerga is the moniker for the actor for Saul, who's the actor who tricks the guy who, this is where my brain fart's coming in, the guy who owns the hotel system. But he tricks him, and that's his name, Lyman Zerga. So for me, it's like I'm here to be someone who's engaged in an entire complex game heist type of thing. Like I view myself as like in that movie, they're racing horses, right? So I saw that they're doing in Ocean's 12, they're collecting art. So it was a perfect match. And then Lyman Zerga is just like this, is just like, and for my name, Linus Caldwell comes from that movie. So Linus Caldwell is Matt Damon's character from that. So Zerga Farms is Lyman Zerga from the movie, and then my name Linus Caldwell is from the movie as well. So that's where it came from.
Okay. And then what's your favorite movie? I guess I could guess that one.
Ooh, let's hear your guess.
Ocean's 11?
No, it's not. Ocean 11 is a fantastic movie, obviously, but my favorite movie is The Prestige. It's all similar concepts. The Prestige is a Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale, and they're magicians, and it has like all things that I love, it has a trick ending, just like Ocean's 11, and just like The Prestige, and just like Old Boy, which is an incredible Chinese movie. It's an ending that you didn't see coming, right? So that's like how I like to play it. Like I'll be the quiet guy racing the horses in the corner, and then one day you're gonna see the person who owns all the horses, the biggest stable, and wins all the biggest races.
Let's go. All right, we got a question in chat. Someone says, ask Linus about the high-stakes Griffey showdown and how he mopped up all the greatest stables on Novus Earth and the head-to-head with me, Lucky Jack.
Oh, man, that is my absolutely best moment in Zed for sure. Hands down, not even close. As I told you earlier, I love breeding. So breeding is my favorite, and I bred a bunch of horses for that, and it started out poorly. Like the first few races, my horses ended up not doing great, and then I made a run back. I had a horse win, and my ultimate, you'll like this. So the last horse for the last race that I saved was a Z3 named Seating Lum, and this is an always wrap stable coin breed. So this was like for me a mega breed, and I saved it best for last, and I needed this horse to win so that I could tie. And he comes in, and wins the race. So I'm losing my mind. So I have a tie with Lucky Jack, and we're in the Discord, and everyone's going crazy. All the guys who are in the race, and Lucky's like 0.5 bet, and I'm like, done, let's do it. So I need to pull an unraced horse out of my den, and luckily I have an offspring that was unused from. It had to be a Z12, Z10 plus. So I had a Z12 from Come At Me Bro, one of my best horses. I had and he's a great breeder, and I had one of his offspring sitting there, and threw him in the race, and ended up getting second while Lucky Jack gets third. And that it's just like one of those moments where you're screaming at your screen, you're yelling, you're absolutely going nuts, because not only is this the first ever high stakes Griffin, right? But like it was like a race off. It's like OT in a championship game for me, and breeding being my most like coveted part of the game.
Okay.
Yeah, this is exciting.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So last few questions. If you had half an ETH to start your stable today in the current system, what would you get to start a stable with half an ETH?
That's a great question. Like early on, I was helping a lot of people, and they would always ask me like, what do you think I should do with this amount of money? And my answer is like, first, what is your bankroll? So if you have half an ETH, that's the answer to your bankroll question. The next thing is like, what is your time dedication to this game, and what are you looking for as an outcome? So like, some people are just looking for like income production and don't want to race that much, and breeding right now isn't like too profitable with half an ETH. So I don't know how much that I could recommend that to that person. Here's what I would do if I had half an ETH. I would reach out. I would reach out to somebody that has like a decent horse for sale for 0.1. I would look for a few different indicators that it could be a potentially good or decent breeder. Obviously, we're looking at like Z10, Z7 through Z12 or something of that nature. And I would look for like a little bit of a stronger base ability, so that it has like potential as a breed, like has more of a potential as a breeder. Obviously, I find that like the lower Z's that are better breeders, that are higher Z's are better breeders that have stronger base ability, and I would look for that. And then I would be looking to buy offspring that are also higher Z's, that are mares that you can run. And I would just be flipping those off. I would be flipping those. So I would keep one good racer that you can race, and then I would be buying up like low priced horses at like 0.02, 0.03 that are offspring that come from like decent lineages or decent lineages you can. I would be racing them and flipping them and selling them to the liquidity providers on the bench until I get like some decent mares, some decent fillies that are some decent runners, and then I would be adding them and breeding them every month the best that I could. That's what I would do with half an ETH. I think it's a different strategy than what other people might suggest. So it's going to be interesting to say. And that's something that I'm doing now with my, like I told you, I'm retesting a lot of these higher Z horses. So I take them, I race them. The good ones I keep, the bad ones I sell. I roll the liquidity that I just got at the small loss on my horse back into breeding new horses. So it's my strategy right now that I'm doing, and I'm finding good horses. The downside of this is that I think in the current state of Zed, it's not great for some of these middling horses that should be bringing you in small profit every month. Like some of these horses I had that were small profit bringers that I liked racing or testing and then sitting on the sidelines and waiting. They're marginally profitable or in the current state. So I think I'm hopeful that like we return to a better racing state, and this would be a great concept for that. But right now it may be something you build for the next coming months.
I like that. And I like how you're saying like you can cut your loss, but it gives you the chance to come back and pay for another breed and just do it again, right?
Yeah. You're essentially pivoting. Look, there's obviously a huge advantage to a stable like mine, where I get to like get discount on breeding because like if something costs me 0.03 to breed, it actually costs, like I actually get a discount. I get the 35% discount on that, or I put it in 7 days and I get a much bigger discount. So it's actually costing me half. And then the liquidity provider, I sell it, if it's a really bad horse, you sell it like 0.011, 0.012. It's like break even almost. Whereas like for someone with a smaller bankroll, you're losing probably like 33% or 40% of the investment. But like you'll also find some winners in there if you're buying if you're looking in the right places and buying the right offspring, and the winners will more than offset like everything that I just said. So, and you can build up your stable that way with half an ETH. Obviously, there's some people that want to come in and take a half an ETH and gamble and like, yeah, sometimes you're going to come in here, you're going to gamble half an ETH, and you're going to find like X% of the time, you're going to find a stud, and you're going to be able to build out a 6 stable from there. People have done that, but like, that's the lowest EV play, because most of the time you're going to find a dud, and then you lost. Like, you can't really roll in, like buy a horse for half an ETH and then it's a dud, and then you can't really roll those profits into anything. Now you're rolling in 0.15 rather than like, that's a huge loss.
Right. Lucky Jack says, ask him if he still has a taste for super rare Jennies and why / how he values them in the long game of Zed.
God, I love Lucky Jack. Lucky Jack's one of the first people who got me in the game. I was buying up super rares from him early, and I loved super rares. And I was thinking, I like super rare Genesis, because I was thinking like as the game expands, these coats would become highly coveted, the way that I described to you about NFTs in general. So I thought like if you could find super rare good racers, that you would have like a rare NFT. You have a super rare great racer, and it's a rare NFT. And so I bought up a bunch off Lucky Jack. And actually, I bought Keen Desire. So it was all worth it, Lucky, first and foremost. I got Keen Desire off of Lucky Jack. And Keen Desire is one of the top 4 greatest super rare profit per race earners. There's only 4, and then the rest of them aren't good. It's like Cutie Call, Peach Buzz, and then Keen Desire, and then the rest of there's just no good ones after that. So for me, this horse is a horse I'm never going to sell, because it's an incredible winner. It constantly wins. It wins at it can win at any distance, but it's just like 20 years from now, if this game ever takes off, it's one of the only 4 good super rare Genesis horses that exists. And to me, that's like an immense NFT value from that perspective. And like, yeah, it's a niche buyer, but Lucky, you can buy Keen back from me one day if you'd like.
I love that, man. Last question. If you could change one thing in Zed Run, you can bring back odds, you could take away flames, take away fatigue, change whatever you'd want, what would you change and why?
God, great question. Who does your questions? Great questions. If I could change one thing in Zed, I don't like, I'm indifferent to flames, and I understand not having odds. So those aren't my answer. I think that the classing system is the most important thing that needs to get expanded, but that's not like getting rid of something. I would love to see an active gambling market, but I don't think that that's really doable. I would love to see something that jumpstarts a secondary market and creates, I guess you need like third-party providers for that. You need a third-party provider, and then they can create the odds. I'd also love to know how the odds really worked initially. Like, I still view odds as a strength indicator. They weren't odds. Like, to me, they were a strength indicator. They were like how strong your horse is. Same thing as flames. So I would just love for Zed to come out with a new model that can provide value to third-party providers in the future, if that's something that they're looking for. I'm not necessarily saying I want that, but I think that it would add a lot of value. So whatever that looks like, let's do it.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun with that. So, yeah, man. Do you got any questions for me?
Yeah. So I want to know. So you answered this on Arbitrage's racing podcast, but I'm very curious. Just in general, I'm curious your racing style for diamonds. Like how are you working with a horse like that? Like, what are you specifically looking for when you're picking races? And what's your general strategy?
I'm a dumbass, dude. I like I'll just plug him into any race. He's one horse to where I know he can win anywhere on a good roll, but he can also lose anywhere on a good roll, right? So like I know he's best at 1600 meters, but he's still gonna U shape at that distance. So it's like I could enter the $500 1600 meter, but I also know I'm gonna pull a 12th, or I could enter the $500 2600 meter, possibly pull a 12th, but possibly pull a first. To be honest, with a horse like him, it's just kind of, I race like a dumbass. I'm just like, oh, well, hopefully we get a good variance roll on this one, and we'll see if we do. If not, it is what it is.
I love your answer. Well, Diamonds is like this is the same distribution that sort of like Keen Desire has, and I think you just see this. You don't really see this in Knox, so you can just race her in any distance and get any roll at any given time, which is just the most fascinating thing. Like, because how many horses in this game, especially in class one, can you just enter in any race you want? Right? Like that's gotta be the most fun, is just being able to enter any race at any buy-in with your horse without having to consider like strength of field and other different indicators that you have. So I'm just happy to do all the time.
Yeah, man, it's a trip, and I don't think I would ever sell him because of that reason. Like knowing he could compete at 1,000 to 26, whatever sponsored race he has, like he's game in any sponsored race at any distance, any buy-in. So for me, it's really kind of just like getting the funding to get the buy-ins to these sponsored races, and then maybe putting someone's skin on their horse, and then kind of have a deal from there and just enter these big pot races if I can.
So you have a vision that you're going to be entering like all the huge buy-ins in the future with Diamonds.
Yep.
Yeah, you're. I'm looking forward to those days. We have one of the best horses. It's for that, and I feel like we're going to be battling at some point in the future, and I'm really looking forward to it. Like Diamonds is for sure have like a custom sponsored skin on the side of her, side of him. Sorry, I always think like I think Diamonds is a girl. I just so the last offspring from Always Rap was a blue horse, and I named it Blue Giant of the Orient. And I don't know if you're familiar with that name, but Blue Giant of the Orient is like the largest sapphire in the world. So I wanted to name, since you have diamonds, I wanted to name the horse after a sapphire being blue, and I went with the Blue Giant of the Orient.
I like that. I've kind of kept like a diamond theme. Like I tried to get Sierra Leone. That name was taken, but I found like I've taken some like names of a kid. I just named a horse John Bull. I bred Bonnie Parker and diamonds together, and John Bull was like a kid who found like the third largest diamond in Africa or something like that. So I'm kind of with you on that to relating it to something like diamonds. It's cool, man.
I love that. I love that. How has diamonds breeding been since it's an interesting high variance horse. So I'm actually just looking through right now. I had never looked before.
Nothing too crazy. Like I've had people tell me he's like a good breeder, but I've never bred anything like class 1 killer yet. I'm mostly breeding Z4 exclusives because I started with the two Z2 legendaries, and then I'll try and get an exclusive filly and then just always breed those back into Genesis so I can build out a crazy exclusive bloodline before I move to Elite. But yeah, nothing too crazy yet. But my plan is to breed a crazy exclusive, either a Z4 filly or like a Z10 exclusive Fenny, but bred from Diamond's bloodline.
I was literally yesterday was looking through Z2 and Z3. Well, it was actually Z3, so it's not Z2, so it might be different. But I was looking through Z3, and there were like no good Z3 legendary knock breeders in general. I found that very, very interesting and fascinating. I'll probably look through Z2s next to see if there's something else going on there. Like you see some exclusive breeders that breed well, but the Z3 knocks don't. And I was like, I'm going to try it anyway. I tried on Hot Creations, which is an always wrap Z3 that at low stakes looks really, really good at very specific distances, and we'll see if anything good comes out of that. But looking through like the blood tool and looking through breeding is very fascinating. I'm going to keep an eye on Diamonds and see how he breeds out over the next few breed cycles.
100%, man. How has the blood tool helped you out with your breeding? Is it like change your strategy on what you're going to go breed, or what type of horses you're breeding? Like, how has that changed your strategy when it comes to breeding?
Well, I literally just started. So I literally just started on the blood tool. Everything of that was like, I wanted to do my own testing and back testing and looking at things first before I hopped in the blood tool. But I'm such a big fan of a lot of what Dan Chan is doing and a lot of the way that he views breeding. And so I'm really excited. I decided that I was going to breed many horses. I was going to try a new strategy for this fib. So I bred a bunch of horses using the blood tool and put them in griffins last night. And then today, and then literally right after that, they announced the upcoming maiden tournament. So I'm like, oh no, all the horses that I could have just bred and saved for the maiden tournament, I know. So interesting timing for me. But yeah, I'm going to be testing out. Like I have a learning curve for the blood tool, so I'll try to look through. I'll spend for days and days and days on it for sure. I'm going to be in love with it, and then I'll work in some of my own methodology and testing. I have a large enough stable. Like literally, the benefit is that I have a large stable of all different types of horses, and so I can try every breed and see like when I can try every breed multiple times and see like what comes out. Like looking through the blood tool, it's clear that like many types of breeds there's small samples. So let's run some larger samples and see what comes out of it and lose some money in the process.
But all it takes is that one, right? Like you could lose some money, but then you breed something of a Diamond's caliber or a good horse and then made all your money back with one horse, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like I'm always looking at the EV of a given play, but like the EV is not the first outcome. It's like the range. It's like the set of outcomes. So it's like a poker thing. Like if you have like a 30% ROI and you think that you're gonna win, like you're gonna go through variance downswings on like if I play 3 tournaments and expect to win, I'm a loser. I'm expecting to win over like 2,000 tournaments, 5,000 tournaments, and so you just need to reach the proper sample size. And so I think the same thing will come in breeding, but at the same time, like I think Dan Chan has some really good points that like horses are good breeders or bad breeders. I believe horses have like, and this is just like theory. It's not like what I'm for certain on, but I think that horses have like there's variance in types of racing horses, right? You have like different types of varying horses. You have different types of distance preference horses. You have very strange, like all variance horses that don't flame but are winners, dark horses. There's just lots of different types. And I think that you can get the same thing from breeding, like different types of breeders. Like I think you can have just like a horse that is just produces horses that always have strong base ability, but are never superstars. And then you can have horse that like produces one really good horse in every 4 or something. Like those are just arbitrary examples. So it's a theory I'm working with. We'll test it out. And so at the same time, I do think that horses are just good breeding horses or not. And I'll be able to like, after a small sample of breeds, know like whether I should continue breeding this horse. So it definitely helps limit my downside, right? On this.
100%. Yeah, man. I'm excited to see what you do. I'm excited to see if you breed any killers, and you're more than welcome to come back on the podcast whenever you want, Linus. But man, I had a great time. I learned so much today, man. Thank you so much for your time, my dog.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you're doing for the community and everybody out there who's watching. Much love. Let's go Zed. Go Zerga Farms, and I guess go Seahawks.
Yes, sir. Go Seahawks. Good luck to everybody in, what is it? What's the tournament? Fibonacci 4.0 this week?
Fib 4.0.
All right, man. Good luck. I'll see you on the track, and have a good day, my man.
You too.
Peace.
Did you disconnect?
My computer's like bugging right now. Like my main screen over here is like black, so I can't even go on OBS right now.
So we could still be live.
Yeah, we're still live. Just give me a second. Like I don't know why my computer's tweaking. Just give me a second. Okay. Did I break my MacBook is the real question.
Let's see.
What did I do?
I didn't share the live version, but I will make sure to share it on. I got ingrained in our conversation. I didn't share the live version to Twitter or anywhere, but I'll share it now for you.
Okay. We're still live. We're still live on chat, so I'll probably just have to cut off my computer because I can't like I got both black screens right now. I don't know what's going on. But thank you so much, my man. I appreciate your time. That was a great conversation.
Yeah, you're great. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. You have a great day, man.
You too.